So shearing is the same 16 steps over and over again. So it becomes muscle memory, and that's why we're able to get faster and faster at it. So first step is to tip the sheep and clear off that belly wool, which you can see me doing. I'm using my offhand to pull his belly tight so we don't get any wrinkles. And then I'm also covering, it's a boy, so I'm covering his bits and pieces to keep him safe. Belly wool gets thrown to the side. And then we go to the crutch. I call it a sheepy Brazilian. This is also normally very lanolin laid wool. There's normally manure tags in it. Sometimes it's urine stained, so it's a little tougher to get through. But we're going to clear all that out, and then I'm going to go down the off leg just to make it easier for when I do the off side. And I'm going to tip him onto his hip. And this is where we get into it. So right now he looks like a little tan or a brown sheep. But here, as soon as I open up that hip, you're going to see that he's actually a beautiful silver color underneath. So again, using my offhand to keep his stifle joint stuck out so he can't kick me in the face and I don't pinch any skin. And then this is also a little bit of a tougher area. Sometimes there's a tail hidden in there, sometimes there's not. If it's a ewe, her bits and pieces might be in the way, so we need to watch for those. And because I have a very short torso, I try and get the other butt cheek cleaned up a little bit. Then we're going to come back up and do the blind pass. So from the brisket all the way up through the neck, and I have to make sure I pull the sheep's head so there's no wrinkles on the neck. Then we come up by the face and clean off the face. I'm going to open up that shoulder a little bit more. Again, using my offhand to keep the wool out of the way so I don't get any second cuts. And to keep that skin tight. Now I'm going to find his ear because we don't want the clippers to get a hold of those. We're going to clean up the front of his shoulder and the rest of the brisket. And then his first front leg. And then I'm going to take a big step, put my foot in between his back legs and my other leg on his brisket. And I'm going to do my favorite part, those big long blows. So this is where, you know, it's that real satisfying big long streaks. The wool just peels away. Using my offhand to pull the skin tight to make sure I don't get any wrinkles and to see what I'm doing because I don't want to go over and get any second cuts. And again, I have a really short torso, so I try and do an extra pass there on the butt so I don't have to reach quite as far when I pick the sheep up and go down the other side. This isn't standard process, but it makes it easier for me. So now I'm going to finish opening up his shoulder. Making sure I get all of his armpit clean so he doesn't get tangled up in that. And now I'm going to come up the neck and pick his head up so I can do the other side of his face. Again, I want to hold his ear. I'm not holding his head up by his ear. I'm holding his whole head, but I'm just holding the ear out of the way so it doesn't get hit with the clippers. These clippers go about 3,300 RPMs, and they will not discriminate against wool versus skin, so you have to be real careful. And that's, again, why I use my offhand to pull the hair, well, not the hair, but the skin and ears and everything to keep him out of the way. So now I'm going to pick him up and stick him in between my legs. And I'm going to finish that other side. He wasn't very comfortable. He was wibbling around, which is why it looks a little weird. But you just give them a second so they can get comfortable again, and then you keep on going. So again, using that offhand to pull that skin around his elbow so I don't pinch him anywhere and give him a cut. He was a little wider than what I thought. That's why you saw me do a down cut along his spine, just to make it a little easier for me to make some bigger passes. Now, sometimes your shearer will ask for your sheep to be fasted from the night before. That's not because we're mean or anything. It's because sheep are ruminant. So we don't want their bellies full of gas and grass and hay and grain. It makes it harder for us to be able to pull the skin if we need to. And it also helps keep your wool and my area clean because they're not pooping and peeing everywhere. So he got a little uncomfortable, so we sat him down. Sometimes with these bigger, older sheep, it's easier just to lay them down. And I'm going to finish. It always makes me giggle what color they are underneath, because sometimes the outside of the wool's never the same color as on the inside. And again, you see, I have a short torso, so I have to like really stretch to get some of these bigger sheep all the way down. I'm going to clean up in front of his stifle and his flank there. And again, you don't want the second cut, so you saw me throw them off to the side. And now we're back to the back end of the sheep, which sometimes is a little gummier due to, urine, scald, manure, etc., etc. But you see, I'm pulling that skin tight so I don't get any wrinkles, so I don't cut him or pinch him anywhere.